I'm Dave Archer, and I'm 77 years old, and I live at Churchtown, Ohio, on a farm. Well, I was, of course, born and raised in Marietta. My mother taught school at St. Mary's Central, Ethel Archer. And my dad had Archer Auto Parts on Skimmel Street that my grandfather started in 1920. And so I didn't get into the auto parts business. I went ahead and got interested in welding and pipe fitting and served an apprenticeship with the pipe fitters local, served as their business manager for 6 years, and then I started my own business in 1980.
Okay, and you're married to Arlene?
I'm married to Arlene. I have 3 children, Jill, Mike, and Kathy. And they're all married. 2 of them live in Churchtown, and 1 lives in Marietta.
Do you have any grandkids?
I have 4 grandchildren. My oldest granddaughter just graduated from Wheeling Jesuit as a registered nurse, and she's pursuing her nurse practitioner degree and working at Camden Clark in Parkersburg, part-time, or I guess full-time, 12-hour days. Mike went to law school. He's a graduate of Notre Dame, and he works in the business. He's the CEO now of our companies. And Kathy works in the business, and she's the head of all the bookkeeping and all the companies and records and manages that. Drag racer before I got married back in the 60s, which was not a good thing then because drag racing was kind of looked down on. And I'd never forget my mom and dad said I couldn't park the drag racing car on the trailer in front of the house. Always had to put it in the alley so the neighbors wouldn't get upset. And but after I got married, my wife turned me into a farmer. So I started farming with tractors and got interested in tractor pulling. And I've been tractor pulling 55 years, I think, this year. And in 2016, I was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which was where your lungs actually semi-collapse and grow over. So I had a transplant 5 years, 6 months, and a couple of weeks ago in Cleveland Clinic. By the grace of God in the Cleveland Clinic, and my wife, I'm even here. And so I laying around recouping for about a year and a half before I could get outside and do anything. And it just came into my brain that maybe I'd try something different because I wasn't going to be allowed to pull tractors anymore. And so my wife and kids had bought my old pulling tractor, which is an Allis Chalmers D19 years ago, and given it to me to restore when I retired. So I turned it into a land speed tractor. The land speed tractor record for a farm tractor was 101 miles an hour at that time. So it was in 2018 we finished it, and I asked Kathy, who had been tractor pulling and doing truck pulling and stuff with us before she got married, if she was interested in driving it. And she said I was taking too many pills and I ought to think about it because it was crazy. But she agreed, so we went down to Blissville, Arkansas. And it was kind of interesting down there because most of those guys were big-time guys that had raced the Bonneville Salt Flats and had big sponsors and stuff and came in there. And so they didn't pay much attention to us Appalachian guys with gals with farm tractor. But Kathy went out on her first exhibition run to apply for her license, and she went about 60 miles an hour. That kind of got a little bit of attention. So then after the second time we went out, she got up about 90 miles an hour, and then people started coming around. We had news people there, television, stuff like that. So on the final run, she went 108 miles an hour, which was the fastest anybody had ever gone in a farm tractor in the world. Not only that, she was female, and she was young, and so we thought, well, we could do better. I had a little incident with it. It's making sure when she went across the finish line, the tractor actually bounced, and she pulled a parachute, slid around backwards about 250 feet, went down the soybean field. And so we knew it would go faster. It was just a matter of getting it stopped and work on the steering and stuff. So we brought it back. And of course, the next year then we didn't go down. And last year we went down. And Kathy had retired again. So I drove the tractor, and I drove the tractor to 106.6 miles an hour. Just barely over 100. We encountered some pretty heavy winds, and it was raining and some things. So we had some weather conditions. So we're going to go back down the first weekend in October this year, and we're getting ready for that. Now we've been working on the tractor, but at the present time, which is most people don't know, but Kathy is the youngest person to ever go over 100 mile an hour. First woman, holds the world record, and there's a NASCAR driver in North Carolina that has the guy that Kathy beats, 101, and I'm 4/10 of a mile behind him. So the oldest, the youngest female are all in Marietta that have been the fastest people in the tractor. So we're going to keep that going. The tractor's geared to run 137 miles an hour. I don't know if we'll ever get it up to that, but that's our goal long term.
You touched on some of your health issues. Would you consider that?
I'd say that was the biggest one, unfortunately. It had a good end, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I was down to where I had about 3 days, and they were going to have to shut me off because I didn't have an oxygen. In the low 60s was my oxygen level. I was in Cleveland. I was up there 13 weeks. And when I go to Cleveland next month, it'll be my 88th trip to Cleveland in 6.5 years. And my wife and I go up and talk to pre-transplant groups. They have a lot of questions, kind of like I did, because you go to the doctor, we all experience that, and then on the way home you think, geez, I wish I'd asked that. But the hardest thing was not the physical part of the transplant, the surgical part. That was sore and hurt, but it was the rehab and all the medicines that I have to take today. I take 46 pills a day. And but that's what it takes to keep on going. And so we get to talk to those people, and it's really a good feeling when we leave up there to talk to them, because they have a lot of questions like I had when they didn't have the program. There was really nobody to ask those things. And the rehab took about a year, almost 2 years, from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane and all that. But it's a good way to lose 60 pounds, I can tell you that. I'm most proud of my family, obviously, and my grandkids, and I've got Abby, just graduated from Wheeling Jesuit, and I've got a grandson, Austin, he's in Muskegon, and I have a great basketball player, Hannah, she's a senior at Fort Fry this year, and then I have my farming grandson, he was 6 last week, and so he wants to be a farmer when he grows up, so he helps us on the farm, does what he can, has lots of questions. I think it's important because obviously at the age I am now, I don't come to the O'Neill Center, but there's so many people that come here and so many people that you guys help that most people I don't think really understand that. But a lot of the guys and gals that have worked with us and for us over the years are people that come here. Sometimes, I'm sure, for different reasons, social reasons, and sometimes for economic reasons. But it's just unbelievable the amount of people, and I really didn't know that until Connie and I talked several times about some of the things that you do, and that I really didn't understand it, but the more I understand, the more I realize that the things you guys do are just almost unimaginable.